Hi everyone, Dave here with a quick video based on the discussion that we had last Thursday afternoon at our Cancer Coach Hangout. A lot of discussion from everyone about the financial impact that cancer patients had to face, that bankruptcies were pretty common, that drug costs were high, that generally people were in distress. And as a result, a lot of coaches were having difficulty finding not only a cancer patient to work with, but one who was able to pay. And really, I think the discussion was rolling around. We are heart-centered. We do have a great service to offer, but we probably won't be having a very financially successful coaching practice because of the impact of the financial burden. So I took that to heart and decided I would do a little research over the last few days and started going through the government statistics, the health statistics, studies from Duke, from Dana-Farber, from Hutchinson, Livestrong Foundation. It just went crazy taking a look at what actually is happening out there, and is there a real issue that we have to face dealing with financial burden. So I thought today I would just share some of the statistics, and the good news is I think there is a path for a cancer coach to build a six-figure coaching practice. So let me show you why I believe that to be true. Let's bring up PowerPoint and see if I can bring up some of the statistics that I found. And no surprise, when you start to look at what's happening out there, Forbes had a large article that's saying that 60% of bankruptcies are due to medical costs, and that bankruptcies are 2.5 times greater for cancer patients than the normal American. In fact, the Dana-Farber Duke study said that 30% of cancer patients rated costs as a significant burden, and an additional 11% said that it was a catastrophic burden. It's really looking like debt is, as you would expect, a major concern. And in 2011, Livestrong really said it was about 30%, 33%, a third of the people that they were working with found debt to be some difficulty for them. And when I started looking at another study from Dana-Farber, it said, patients, not uncommon to find, $500 a month in drug costs, and breast cancer patients are, can have an out-of-pocket expense of $800 or larger, $800 or larger per month. So, this obviously says, hey, the numbers are not lying. They're saying maybe cancer has a financial impact. Surprise, surprise. Well, I said, well, okay, let's take a look at the in depth of what these headlines are talking about. So if 60% of bankruptcies are due to medical costs, just how many people are going bankrupt? Well, it turns out that there's a 1% of Americans go bankrupt. And of that 1%, only 5% go bankrupt due to illness. And of that 5% group, 12% is due to medical debt. And the debt is less than $5,000. So wait a minute, we're saying 60% of bankruptcies are due to medical costs. Yeah, but that's only 1% of Americans going bankrupt. And if you go down through that line, only 5% are saying that it's due to medical costs, and the medical costs are not really excessive. So you've got to really start to say, well, okay, it's true, bankruptcies do occur, but it's not as big a number of people with cancer that you would imagine. So why would you go bankrupt if you had less than a $5,000 medical debt? Well, it turns out, again, when you look at the studies that Hutchinson's Cancer Center did, it was because these people were living paycheck to paycheck. and they were in fact eventually losing their job, and that the majority of the people that were in debt had very little savings. So again, no surprise, if you don't have any savings, you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you've lost your job, a $5,000 burden is going to be a problem. But that is not necessarily, again, a large number of people that are going under as a result of cancer. And that really took me by surprise. Also, when I started to look at what about this issue of people having catastrophic problems, it turns out that the studies that said, sure, people, 30% are saying significant burden, 11% having catastrophic burden, these were people who were earning less than $40,000 a year. And the same for patients with drug costs and out-of-pocket expenses. The studies were looking at people in the $40,000 to $50,000 annual earning range. So it's, again, some statistics being skewed when you look at them, that they're real, that if you're earning less than $40,000 a year and you're living paycheck to paycheck, then there's going to be some difficulty. And, that's essentially what the summary of all this data that I looked at was telling me, is that, sure, if you're earning less than $50,000 a year and you've got cancer, you're going to have some difficult financial burden. But even when I looked at that group on the details of the studies, only 41% of that group were actually experiencing a problem. So you still had 50% of the people earning less than $50,000 that didn't have a problem, unless they were living paycheck to paycheck or they had lost their job. And no rocket science here at all. So it's really, do we have a serious problem if we as a cancer coach are going to look for a cancer patient? Can we say it's likely they're going to have a financial problem? Well, again, depending on who you're talking to. 50% of Americans earn less than $50,000 a year. So if you're targeting an audience of $50,000 a year, you're going to keep running up against these financial burdens. But 30% of the U.S. earn more than $50,000 and less than $100,000, and 20% earn greater than $20,000, greater than $100,000 a year. And these were 2012 statistics that I was looking at. So for sure, you've got to be very clear, who the heck are you talking to? What is it that you are going to be faced with when you introduce yourself to a cancer patient? My recommendation is you've got to really step back and take a look at the business plan that you have for different income groups, that you should be offering services to people who are earning more than $50,000 a year. They don't seem to have a problem of living paycheck to paycheck and have significant problems from the debt load that cancer places on them. But certainly people earning less than $50,000 do. So that's probably where your group programs come in. Some of your free services that you want to offer. But you really want to start looking at targeting your market to people in different income brackets. So if we took these statistics, and as the statistics show, we've got 17.5 million cancer survivors, and let's say only 50% of those are in this greater than $50,000 a year in income, well, that leaves about 9 million cancer survivors who are earning more than $50,000. And if your cancer program is being focused on caregivers as well, we said about 10 caregivers surround every survivor. So that's about 175 million cancer caregivers helping the cancer patient. So if, again, they follow the same statistical path that we're seeing here, 50% of those are going to have financial burden, but 90 million of those 175 million are likely not to be having much of a financial difficulty. So just wanted to give you a new way of looking at what we seem to be hearing from the media and from our own practical experience. As survivors, we have faced financial burdens, but we found a way to overcome them. And I'm reading all the studies, and I did like 3-4 days of research here, because you really got me going at this last session. Saying, my goodness, if this is reality, it's going to be very difficult to have a successful cancer coach practice. Yet I'm sensing that there are millions of people out there that are, yes, have an obstacle from the financial burden, but they're not being stopped dead in the tracks. They do have disposable income. And perhaps what we want to talk about at the next few coaching hangouts that we do is, so is that true? Do you agree with these stats that I've come up with? And do you feel that there is a market, or can you identify people in different income brackets so that you stay away from people who are in fact on the verge of bankruptcy or are going to lose their job, and concentrate on people who are more financially stable, who have financial savings? And in fact, there's, again, I'm trying to remember the statistic as I'm talking to you, but the average American in that 50,000 per annum bracket had greater than $40,000 in savings. So there's people who have savings, there are people who don't. There are people who have a financial burden, and there are people who don't. It's something we've got to be very careful of when we're paying attention to everything that we're seeing that gives us this negative spin that people are going to be difficult to convince to buy our services. And based on what I've seen the last few days, I don't think that's something that would concern me as great as it did before I started doing the research. So let me know if this is helpful. I love taking these questions that come up at our Hangouts and seeing if I can throw another spin to them, and then let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's see if Dave's on track or still blowing smoke here. So look forward to seeing you all at our next Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Hangout, and we'll just see how we all feel about this issue of the financial impact on cancer patients and survivors. Thanks very much for listening. Hope it was helpful, and until I get to see you again, take really good care of yourself. Bye for now.